Board on this computer. It says we're live streaming. I so doubt it. And I press one more button, and we may indeed be live. Let me know. I think we may be good to go.
I haven't got the notification yet. But
well, connecting live video. All right, I think we might actually be live. So, yeah, I think so. So, hey, welcome out there, everybody. A little bit of
what up?
Major Tom to ease into. Oh, not Major Tom.
No, I went Starman on this.
Excellent, excellent. Love a little Bowie. Well, hey, everybody out there, welcome to Wednesday. It is the Evan and Aaron show. I'm Evan, or I'm not Evan. I'm Aaron. I'm Aaron.
We haven't been drinking yet, man. I'm just saying.
Confused already, man. So I'm Aaron. This is Evan. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. You could. I mean, depending on how much time you spend out in the sun, you could look like a beautiful black man. I'm just saying. Go ahead, bro.
I turn pink, and that is it. about this shade. I go about this shade, man.
Okay. Let me just comment on that real quick.
Yeah.
That is like, dude, that's you. You've you all over. Dude, that's awesome.
COVID is allowing Aaron's freak flag to fly a little bit. I'm expressing myself. Don't have to ever go into the office or see people all day long. So I'm doing me. So
might as well.
Evan,
hey, guess who's here? Guess who's here with us? Like at the very beginning of the broadcast.
Is Taylor here?
Taylor.
Wow.
Here.
Shout out to Tay. Yo.
Tay-Tay's on time. What's
Excellent.
up, Tay-Tay?
Good to see you.
Yeah. Woo.
All right. So today brought a lot more news about coronavirus and the spread and the spikes, specifically Arizona, Texas, Florida, Southwest getting hit pretty badly. And, we know what they have in common. They sort of refused to believe it at first, and then were reluctant to close things down, and then were very adamant about opening early, even though none of those states were anywhere near meeting the guidelines set forth by the CDC and the White House as to who should be opening back up. So, of course, we see these spikes. We're seeing spikes like crazy in Tulsa. Can't imagine why there.
Yeah.
It was good to see Pence finally put on a mask at his meeting. And I think that we talked about this maybe a month ago. This is episode 12, by the way. So now we're 3 months into this damn thing.
There you go.
So, we talked about, you asked me directly, what could be done to really slow the spread.
Mm-hmm.
And I straight up said, President of the United States puts on a mask for his press briefings.
Yep.
Demonstrates the appropriate behavior, not because everybody needs to be handheld, but because it's a symbol. It says, I'm taking this seriously. You should too. And, we haven't had it. He still refuses to in most places. We just now saw Pence put his on. And I believe there was, Florida has mandated masks in public. And then I think at least some towns, some places have said, no, we're not going to enforce that rule either.
Right.
So,
right.
It just strikes me as really, really selfish on the part of a lot of people, from the standpoint of, this is such a really, really low level inconvenience. I remember back in the day when people complained about seat belts and helmets for motorcycles. Putting on a mask just doesn't really seem to be all that difficult. And I know there was a little bit of, not misinformation, but sort of just lack of clarity at the beginning.
Yeah. Didn't know. And, talking about that, we just found out that the mayor of Kansas City, African-American man, trying to lead the way, said, hey, you know what? We're just going to do a citywide mandate. Immediately was met, not with just death threats, but also racial slurs and, actually not an image, but someone actually saying that he should be hanging or swinging from a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't have a race problem in the United States at all. We just don't.
And current events suggest otherwise, I think. It's just, I get the argument. People want to get back out, and it's summer. It's summer. Sure. Everybody wants to be out doing things, but we've got such a better understanding of this now, and they're really just simple and easy things to do. And you've got Texas talking out of both sides of the mouth, basically saying it has gotten very, very serious here. And if you don't need to leave home, don't leave home right now. While also saying, the lieutenant governor saying, oh, Fauci's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yep. And I no longer listen to him. So you're sending a really, really bad mixed message right there. And the whole Fauci thing has played out to me. The amount of people believing in conspiracy theories and just crazy shit right now just has me livid. It's super annoying.
I mean, Aaron, that was perfect. And actually, as soon as you said that, Taylor asked the question that I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit tonight. She said, thoughts on collectivism versus individualism and the American identity. I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to try and wrap it up into like a 2-minute thought, Aaron.
Okay.
Because, I don't want you drinking all your beer at once. Anyway, I really think there's this thing. I know. Yeah. Stop. Damn it. There's this thing with American society that's very, very unique in the world, and is that we have this belief that we are living in a totally free society, that we can do whatever we want to do as individuals. This is a foreign concept to a lot of the world, because I think a lot of the world has a better grasp and understanding of what social adeptness is. When you talk about living in society, just let's go to sociology, the way we look at human beings and the way we interact with each other. When you live in a society, there is an inherent responsibility that you have to everyone else in that society. Mm-hmm. For example, if I don't know, if Aaron, you and I were hanging out and we live in the same house and stuff like that, and you guys watching us saw me just totally beating the crap out of Aaron, right? Which wouldn't happen because Aaron's got street cred. I've seen the guy fight. I'm just saying. Anyway, we have not just a moral responsibility to step in, but as a society, we have to send a message that's the way that we conduct business in our society. However, in American society, what we've done is we become so individualistic that we now have mantras such as, what happens in someone else's house is their business. And it's all about me, and I'm going to look after me, myself, and I. And this is something that has been developed over time and over centuries that we've been in existence. But I think it started at the very beginning of who we were as Americans.
Our identity,
the Constitution, right?
Our identity is innately tied to it, and I think I'll let you finish, and then
I think what we have in there is the pursuit of life, liberty. We had life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's very individualistic. We don't talk about how can we have life, liberty, and happiness. In my opinion, we don't look at that close enough. So that's just what I'm saying about it. I just think it'd be very narrow.
Oh, buddy, you're cutting out a lot tonight.
About civil liberties and about our responsibility we have to each in our culture.
Mm-hmm. I think we possess, both aspects of that. And I think people are very selective as to how and when they choose to support either of those particular things. Obviously, Americans value individual freedom. It's, it's right there. We codified it straight up front. But there's also this notion of American patriotism and the collective good. And it seems like people are very, very picky about, when, hey, you can't oppress me. You can't tell me to do this or that, but how dare you take a knee to make a particular statement. This notion, that the reverence of military and police, because it's symbolic of individuals sacrificing for the common good. Yet, it's pretty obvious to me that the coronavirus is a general health and safety issue, that there is a need for drastic action to address it. And I think it's the mere fact of people saying you have to do this. So Americans' natural response is, well, fuck that. I don't care what it is. I don't care how safe you're trying to make me. I mean, people fought back against seatbelts. People fought back against helmets. To me, it's somewhere between that level of instruction and guideline and no shirt, no shoes, no service. Like this is just a public health issue, people, and we'll all be a whole lot healthier if everybody encountering one another in public is wearing a mask. It's just that simple. So to have such a heavy response to it shows me, that's when people lean heavily. And I think it's this whole, I have, individual rights and all this. It's a selfishness, and not that I don't think we deserve our individual rights. I'm one of the biggest believers in it, but this, to sort of underline Taylor's question, it is two ideologies bumping into each other, and you've got one group of people who are cool with that and see this as a moment of the country needing to come together for the collective good, and another group of people, for whatever reason, view it as some really intolerable invasion of their individual rights. And for those people, I would ask them to read the 10th Amendment. Evan, you're freezing a bit up tonight, buddy.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to step out real quick, my brother. And just real quick, you can start talking about Taylor's next thing. She said, not enough classical republicanism and too much natural rights philosophy. I do have something to say about that, but I'm going to step back out, join on a hotspot, and see if that helps.
Yeah. Not enough classical republicanism and too much national rights philosophy. All right. Somebody needs to get out of their speaker jargon, their teaching jargon. Yeah. I mean, we had this fight from the very beginning. The Federalists, people who wanted a strong central government, and people who thought, no, we're just merely a loose collective of individual states. So, we've never really reckoned with it, and we've gone through periods where we've had, a stronger notion toward centralized or toward our central government, and less. Civil War being a pretty good example of that whole issue. So,
am I back?
Well, you're there. I see you.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know it because you're going to have people who, man, this, getting into like strict constructionists, as far as interpreting the Constitution, or is it a living document, and did our forefathers have that level of forethought? I call BS to a certain extent. I think they came up with a great idea and a fantastic framework. It's hard to simultaneously argue that you oppose giving rights to gay people because, when the Civil Rights Act was written in 1964, the definition of gender and sex and sexuality and all that stuff didn't exist in the same way. It's hard to make that argument and then turn around and be like, well, but on the Second Amendment, they could have envisioned a bazooka.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, I think they're great men with great vision, but at some point we have to remember they were simply human, and they were responding to, the culture and politics of their time. And their biggest desire was to get out from under the thumb of somebody else. So the whole individual aspect, makes a whole lot of sense. I understand where that comes from. But at the same time, we said we the people. We collectively are forming this nation and saying that we want these things collectively as a group for one another. So it implicitly says, we have to work together at times in order to make this great experiment successful. And it looks right now we're really struggling with that concept, to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry I had to cut out for a little bit, man, but I think it's just a little better connection. Getting back to Taylor's statement, I thought about this a lot today, and not so much about Republican, Democrat, but conservative, liberal type stuff, right? When we slap labels like that on things, it's a great discussion ender for a lot of people, and that's why I try to avoid using those terms, because just because it's a conservative argument doesn't mean that it's invalid. I want to hear it. If it's, you know what I mean? I mean, if it's a good argument, okay, well then let's listen to it. Let's try and learn and see from my point of view, my perspective. Okay, can I understand someone else's perspective? That is social adeptness. That's social awareness that I think we're missing today. It's not just about civil discourse. I can bullshit with the best of them, but if my mind is not willing to be able to see your point of view, Aaron, you could be absolutely 100% right. But if I'm not willing to listen and allow myself to be shifted, because we're so scared that we have held on to beliefs that aren't true. And I think this is what a lot of white America is coming to grips with right now, is that we are asking you to shift from what you have known as to be true, what you've known to be true. Eugenics, phrenology back in the day shows that, white people were superior, the superior race, and they had proof, quote unquote proof, about that was the right way to go. And so if we were not able to show people how silly and ignorant that is, and quite frankly, there are still some of those bases that modern white supremacy bases their belief system on still. If we're not willing and able to budge a little bit and become socially minded and socially conscious and socially adept as Americans, we will continue this narrow-mindedness that we have that's plagued us. It hasn't just arrived here now, ladies and gentlemen. It has been building. It's been building. Nixon was the law and order candidate. We now know what that means. Hopefully everybody who's watching the show knows what the Southern strategy was. If you don't, go check it out, because that thing has been in play in our politics since a long time ago. And so we look at the entire piece as far as what America is, and we look at the privacy issue. We look at everything that we want as Americans, but then we look at the document that set us up. And we're starting to see that those two things don't necessarily match up or line up. And so what do we do with that as an entire country? We're kind of stuck at this point. And Taylor says, I think the better question is, how do we get we the people to make better arguments? And I think that's it, Taylor. I think the way we make better arguments is that we first of all seek to understand. And it's not a matter of just sitting there and absorbing and blah, blah. No, we've got to have those hard arguments. We've got to have those hard discussions where we are not afraid of changing our minds.
Well, but this is, again, to me, I keep coming back to, and I keep seeing this question, people pop up in other people's timelines on Facebook and things like that, and they'd be like, I don't believe in systemic racism. I don't think that's a real thing. And this is simply another example of it. We've first off, by the way, slavery was systemic racism. Systemic process of bringing a group of people over to someplace else against their will to work in servitude for you and to be beaten in the process. That was a system that was formulated, and then basically at every turn, the system, the authority in place, has taken that away or rigged the system against anybody who isn't a white male landowner, at least for the first 100 or so years of this country. So when we talk about, how do we get people to make better arguments? Well, maybe we don't allow the Texas County school boards to write history books that
daughters of
talk about, how good the slaves had it on the plantation, and basically glossing over all of Black history in America, aside from slavery and the civil rights movement, and don't include them in the process. So you can't have, people will never make a better argument until they actually have the correct information in front of them, absorb it, and make it a part of their thinking. It's more than just reading something. You have to figure out how to incorporate that into your philosophy, into your day-to-day life, and how you're going to go about it. And truthfully, some people just don't want to put forth that kind of effort. And to a certain extent, I get it. You get up, you spend 8 hours, you drop the kids off at school, you spend 8 hours at work, you fight traffic, you pick your kids up, you take them to ball practice, you come home, you have a late dinner, you might watch a little bit of TV, and last thing you want to watch is the news. You just want to watch a little late night, right? You don't want to be burdened with it, and it's difficult. I get it. But that's privilege. That's a form of privilege, because there are other people who, when they're driving to work in the morning, they have to worry about harassment. They go to work at a job that probably is not paying them the same value as other people, doesn't value their time. They get less. Black people disproportionately have less time off. And again, go to pick up the kids. You're, once again, an opportunity out in public to just run into more issues. There's discrimination in youth sports. We see that, and you come home. For Black people, you can't avoid it. Until people want to acknowledge it, that you still got the, I don't believe in white privilege. I don't believe in systemic racism. And all we can do is continue to educate. And for those people that refuse to believe, you're not going to convince everybody. We need to achieve herd immunity against racism. If we can get
that note,
if we can get 80%, we can drown out.
We can drown out the other 20. Yeah,
right?
There you go. Given that one right there, dude, that'll wow, that can be published. That was a good one. We're gonna go to our halftime shot.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm representing, unfortunately, the state of Florida, but pretty decent spot. Good old South Beach. There you go.
Lovely. Shout out to my buddy Mikey, living down there in South Beach.
As good old South Beach, man.
Hat and cigar ambassador. Check him out on Facebook. That dude
very
is
nice.
Cool. So
very nice, man.
Big cheers to you, Slancha.
Slancha, my friend.
Cheers to you all out there in the world.
Yep. And this one's for Maz. Maz, love you, buddy.
Yes. Ooh. Good old Maz. Haven't seen Maz for a minute, but I believe congratulations are in order.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Cheers to you, my friend.
Yes. There you go.
So Evan.
Yes, sir.
We're talking a little bit before the show.
Oh God. Here we go.
And it's been a good couple of days. For my team.
Yes.
And got a nice good win yesterday. 2 goals out of our new boy, the Portuguese Bruno Fernandes. And then some good news today with Everton beating Leicester. And unfortunately for you, West Ham beating Chelsea with just some shambolic defending toward the end there. But the good news is Christian Pulisic is looking really, really good.
Pulisic looks great. Barkley looks good.
Give me your hot take on what Chelsea needs to do to finish in the Champions League spots.
They need to stop defending like the Three Stooges. I mean, there were so many people, and I know that it's easy to pin it on, one person, but there were so many people who were out of position today, running into each other. I think Chelsea very much fell into the trap of playing playing to your opponent.
Yeah.
I think they went in and they were like on a hot streak, and they saw West Ham. It's like, oh, it's West Ham. Okay. And West Ham basically took it to them. Now, did they look like a championship team? No, not really. We just played sucky. I'm not going to take anything away from West Ham at all.
Right. No, they did exactly what they needed to do.
They didn't. Yeah. And so I think on the after the match, I can't remember which commentator said it, but he nailed it. He said, this is not just 3 points. This is 3+ points for West Ham. They not only picked up 3 huge points to hopefully keep them from relegation, but they picked up a whole ton of momentum. Chelsea had a chance to move solidly into third place. I'm sorry. Yeah, into third place.
Yeah, you would have leapfrogged Leicester.
We'd have been over Leicester. But now it's us. Man U,
sucked you
Chelsea,
back in.
And
Wolves.
Here's the team. Yeah, that's the team. I love Man U. I love Chelsea and the rivalry. Dude, I'm scared of Wolves.
Yeah.
I'm scared of Wolves.
Yeah, they could play spoiler.
Yeah, they very well could be that dark horse that oof. So anyway, it was a tough day. It was a very tough day. Azpilicueta,
poor from captain, poor from just a defending standpoint, just all around bad day.
It wasn't good.
And Rudiger once again was
killed us.
He just looks like a baby deer sometimes. He just kind of like is all wobbling around. I mean, you go to close down an attacker who's pretty much all left foot, who's currently dribbling to his own right. He's going to cut back. Yeah. What you want to do is just keep pushing him that direction,
and you over pursue.
You would have closed that angle, and Yarmolenko didn't exactly like make some amazing move. No. He literally just ran hard and chopped it back.
Yep.
And then took 2 more touches, like ran away from Rudiger. And of course, Kepa wasn't going to save that. I mean, that's not his fault. But just poor all around. It was disappointing. I think you guys will probably ultimately. I can see Leicester continuing to fall apart a little bit. So I could very well see it being Liverpool. We have the slightly easier run in, comparatively speaking. So
yeah, you do.
At this point, I could see it being Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea,
Wolves.
And Wolves. So, or it would probably still be Leicester. I don't think they're going to fall apart completely. Although here's the thing. I mean, Wolves and United are even on points, and it's just goal differential. So if we reel in Leicester, then it's possible that Wolves would too. So, which would be disappointing for Leicester. They've played really great all season long, but they've struggled to figure out how to score goals since the return. So I'm just hoping this Pogba, Fernandez, and Matic or whoever they want to put in there. I think anybody could honestly do it. I take that back. Matic does things that are really, really intangible.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Appreciate having him and Mata.
Man, Taylor,
when you're ready to give us Pulisic.
Hey,
he's a boyhood Man U fan. He's a boyhood Man U fan. We're gonna get him at some point.
We can just stay there then. That's fine. Just in a boyhood. Taylor said, thoughts on how technology and the impact it has on the ability to spread and communicate misinformation, both about the pandemic and Black Lives Matter.
Ooh. Well, it's massive. It's simultaneously one of the internet, social media is simultaneously one of the greatest inventions ever created. The ability to put information instantaneously at your fingertips, the ability to have, a Smithsonian's worth of knowledge, the entire Encyclopedia Britannica instantly at your fingertips is an amazing thing. It's equality in a box in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, we have created a type of social media bubble that everyone falls victim to at some point in time or another, simply because of the algorithms and how they work. So the ability to intentionally spread misinformation and worse, accidentally spread misinformation is detrimental, and it's good to see Facebook and Twitter and some of these other sites beginning to get involved. is a bit of a slippery slope. It's got nothing to do with the First Amendment. And for those of you who don't understand what I mean, like read what the First Amendment actually says. It's got nothing to do with what a private company says you can or can't do while on their application. Read the fine print. Actually, it's not even the fine print. I'm pretty sure that's in big bold letters up front.
Right there.
So yeah, I mean, it's problematic. But it's no different. I mean, William Randolph Hearst owned all the major newspapers in the United States at one point in time. So it was basically the same thing. He was his day's equivalent of Rupert Murdoch. He had a point of view that he wanted to press on the world, and he was going to buy up every media conglomerate that he possibly could so he could amplify that. What we at least have now is the ability to fight back on a street level against that. The ability to, it's created its own cottage industry of fact checkers and people who want to do some deep dive research on things. So that's very good too. And it goes back to, do you want to learn? Do you how informed do you want to be? Or do you just want to go to a website that, reinforces a belief that you already hold? And a lot of people want that. It is comforting. The whole thing that we're dealing with right now is a lot of people don't want to confront their discomfort because they know. That it was the thought experiment online, about a teacher who was like, hey, raise your hand in here if you want to change places with a black person. And nobody does. And she's like, well, why aren't you raising your hand? I'm like, your silence is your complicity. You know that the experience is not something that you want to go through yourself. So everyone has to acknowledge that and get up in their fifis a little bit about it and sort some of that shit out, because until we all confront it, till everyone confronts the ugliness of it instead of whitewashing our history. I was watching a thing the other day on Muhammad Ali, and every, to a person, everybody likes it. Everybody likes it. And I'm like, you know what, man? If we'd been having this conversation, the 45, 50 years ago that this was, when this occurred, you'd be trashing him.
Yes.
You'd be trashing Martin Luther King. You wouldn't be talking about what heroes they are, just like you did when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, just when Megan Rapinoe took a knee. And you know what? We're already saying it. These are heroes. So you have to acknowledge these injustices. I got off track there, but I mean, to me,
MLK
it's a huge
was
part
public
of it.
enemy. He was public enemy number one. I mean, the thing about this is, Aaron, is as far as, about technology and Black Lives Matter, it's interesting because I see so many things online, and it's a blacklash. It really is, because people are coming to grips and coming to terms with this group who is all about making sure people understand that Black lives have always been at the bottom rung of the American ladder. And the fact is that there was so much misinformation about the Black Panthers out there too, is that when you look back in the 60s, the Black Panthers really weren't that big of an organization. No. They weren't going to take over America, but you had J. Edgar Hoover, you had Nixon, and those guys saying that they're public enemy number one. Angela Davis, Fred Hampton, these guys, all of these people were portrayed in media as the enemy. Yeah. And if you look at American history and you trace it back, and now you look at Black Lives Matter, my charge to you is this, is that if you think Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group or terrorist organization, remember and look at the track record we have as a country when it comes to people who are standing up for Black people's rights. When we look at that, and we look at the consistent track record that we have had to vilify and demonize them, because now we can look back. Hindsight's always 20/20. We can always look back now and be like, oh, well, Angela Davis was, she was the African-American intellect of her time. And, Fred Hampton actually started the school breakfast program in Chicago through the Black Panthers. We can look back and now we can say, oh, yeah, we were wrong. Yeah. Why do we always start there? Why can't we start at the spot where we're like, we may be wrong about this, and actually do what you were talking about, Aaron, and that is take the time to find out for yourself. Take the time to find out for yourself what it really means. And I guarantee you, if that happens, this all lives matter crap will go away. It'll go away because people will then understand, yeah, you know what? You're right. When we start picking people up who are on the floor, that makes all of us better.
Along those lines, what are your thoughts on the Catholic priest in Carmel lumping in Black Lives Matter with Antifa and other people and calling them maggots and parasites? I think I probably know, but we have a show.
No. Taylor asked, what obligations do private companies have to eliminate the algorithms that allow people to create their own echo chambers? I'm not going to talk technology, but I'm going to talk, once again, sociology. I think that the religious institutions in America have created their own quote unquote echo chambers through the algorithms of hate and prejudice that's inherent in these systems. My significant other used to sit under this priest and actually got up and walked out because of the ignorance of his messaging. And for me, when I see that and when I hear that, there's a group in Fishers called Free Fishers, and they did an incredible job sending a response to the church. And it basically took a letter from Birmingham jail and summarized it in the fact that, you know what? Okay, you're speaking up and you're speaking out against Black Lives Matter, but you have no idea what you're talking about. You're talking about it from a totally white, I want to say white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, but I guess it would be a WASC point of view. And the fact is that you have no idea what you're talking about. You are pandering to your monetary base. That's exactly what's happening, and we see right through it. And so by you actually saying something, you're hurting everything that everybody's trying to do. So just shut the hell up.
Well, I find it interesting that there have been as many instances of organized religion being used to oppress people as there have of organized religion being used to liberate people. And it just, I've always found that to be an interesting dichotomy because, well, one, call me naive, but I've always read both books as a call to help and heal. Obviously, one book's a little more heavy, but both are saying this is the way to live a good life, and this is what we're supposed to be doing. So intentionally cherry picking these sections to talk bad about women, homosexuals, people of color. It's weird. I think it's because the book is so dense that you can find a line somewhere in it to justify literally any point of view, any thought process, and you can twist that. But for me, when you take it as a whole, there's one overwhelming message, especially in the New Testament. So how preachers want to come back to some of these things and give some sort of sermon like this. And I'm not sure how I'd have felt if he'd have delivered the speech and not mentioned Black Lives Matter, if he'd have talked about Antifa and their acolytes and all this stuff. It still, I don't think, would be a very good speech to give, because it didn't in any way talk about how, okay, if you find these people to be undermining your society, you need to be encouraging your followers to undermine that message, to say, no, we're going to reach out to you, Antifa. What are you angry about? Right? I get that's supposed to be the message to me. So I don't know. I've just always found that quite odd. To quickly answer Taylor's question, I think it's very, very simple. I think you make those algorithms and processes transparent from day one. Remember, none of us knew what was going on behind the scenes at Facebook for a long time. And of course, this is going to require, a social media platform to be, transparent in a way that none of them have been up to this point. But the thing is once you know what Facebook is doing, once you know how Twitter brings things into your feed, and you know how to move your settings around, which in some ways, yes, can further create your own echo chamber. But
sure,
if you're willing to put forth the effort, you can avoid, being completely, you know, targeted by certain types of ads and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if those platforms, you know, if they want to be a positive thing in the world, then they'll want to do that themselves. But I think just the fact that social media has the word social in it, which means reflective of humans interacting with one another, there's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be bullshit. There's always going to be a segment of people who really just want to watch the world burn, who just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, funny as he can be sometimes, the Sacha Baron Cohens of the world, I really struggle with, because outright berating and humiliating somebody's never going to get them to see your point of view.
True. True.
Funny as it fucking was, though.
Taylor says something here, and I want to spend just a little bit more time on this. She says,
hey,
it's interesting.
Taylor, you're the new production assistant. We have no budget whatsoever, but if you could get these questions to us before the show, that'd be awesome.
we can pay in beer. She says it's interesting because, especially with respect to civil rights, churches have long been a place of comfort where people of color can speak freely and gather and communicate about their cause. Once again, I don't know if you've ever watched, and Aaron, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix series Black AF, but like every episode is hilarious because it always starts out with, you know, this is getting old, but it's about slavery. I mean, it really does. And it goes back to slavery times, at times of slavery, and the fact that black people could not have anything. And the only time they got to have something was when their masters dressed them up and took them to church. Showed them off. And then, you know, when we were free, we were able to have our own institutions. Mm-hmm. And the one institution where you gathered more black people together, because it's the only institution we really knew how to run really well, because you got to remember, all these slaves were watching. They know what was going on in church, and they're like, okay, we can do this. And so we had to learn business. We had to learn how to create those businesses. We had to learn how to run those businesses, but we had been in churches from the very beginning. And so that's the one institution that we've seen. And I think that what has happened is that church has become such a solid institution for especially African Americans, that it's a place of comfort. It's a place where African Americans can truly find themselves, or at least part of themselves. And we can talk all day about dismantling that and taking a look really close at it, because when we look at Christianity, we can recognize a lot of roots, especially American Christianity, that it has in white supremacy. We can look at all of that, and believe me, I've looked at it for years. But when you look at the church and what it means for civil rights, there's almost like this familial feel to it. Like it's comforting. It's home. It's like eating mac and cheese. You know, it's like, okay, I know this. This is what I know. And so I think that it's part of that comfort. I don't think it's necessarily an acknowledgement of all the, you know, rules and regulations of religion. I think that it's an establishment that the African American community uses to establish, like I said, those familial ties that link us all together as Black people. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. It provides a place of solace that otherwise doesn't exist in a lot of those communities. Mm. You jogged another idea of systemic, you know, racism and examples of it throughout history. And I watched a YouTube video that the other day. I'd never heard this before. There was a small community in like Upper West Side Manhattan, I think it was early to mid 1800s, called Seneca Village. And it was a place where middle class Blacks who predominantly worked in lower Manhattan at the time, but, you know, weren't able to get into housing because of certain restrictions. They found this plot of land further north, and they established their own community. And again, it was firmly middle class. Those people still went back downtown, lower Manhattan, to work, but they created their own schools. They created their own churches. And, this was not some sort of shanty town. Mm-hmm. It might not have been mansion after mansion, like, Greenwood and Tulsa, wasn't affluent, but it was a symbol of a Black community that was fairly self-sufficient. Well, middle 1800s, a lot of New Yorkers started going to Paris and Rome and visiting sites in Europe, and they came back and said, wow, they have these beautiful parks, these beautiful trees. We should have a park in Manhattan if we want to be considered, a big player, like the other big cities. So, yeah, exactly what's coming. A lot of newspaper articles talking about shanties and the mongrels who lived uptown, and that they needed to be kicked out if we want to pretty up the city. So they were displaced, not compensated for any of their homes. And the video essentially stopped there, but I feel fairly safe in suggesting that their displacement is why Harlem probably exists, why even further, upper Manhattan exists. Yeah. So, again, it's an anecdote, but it's another example of, a disenfranchised group of people seen as less than, easily displaced by the state simply because wealthy people wanted to have, a park to walk through. And the second thing I'll add to that was, for no reason other than just interest in our own little area, my wife was researching the original covenants of all the neighborhoods in our area. Mm-hmm. And just north of us is a place called Meridian Kessler Terrace. And their covenant specifically said that no property there, no real estate could be purchased by anybody who did not have pure white blood.
Yeah. Yep.
So, systemic means it's written down, that it's codified, that it's in the rules. And this was specifically targeting a group of people. It's racism any way you look at it. Yep. And it's just ingrained in our society. And that was 1939.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talked last week about the GI Bill specifically excluding Black people. So they served the country. And then once again, were denied an ability to create familial wealth by purchasing a home, with a loan that everybody else got.
Yep.
I don't know how many of these examples, people who deny it's going on. I mean, how many do you need? Do you need 10?
Yeah,
do you need 15?
Exactly.
I'll go get them, because
guys.
there are thousands of these examples, because it's a real thing. And it's been going on since we introduced slavery in this country. We've never, given equal treatment. And I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know how to have this conversation, because it's so patently obvious on its face.
Sure. It's like literally talking into the wind. Like you're like, seriously, come on. That's why it's just so, and I'm going back to this church in Carmel. It really stuck in my craw this week. And the fact is that, guys, listen, historically speaking, Jesus was one of the most political figures in history. Yeah. One of the most political figures in history. I mean, the guy, did not stand for bullshit. He just didn't. And it's interesting because I see modern religion, modern Christianity treating him with kid gloves. I see religion using, as we've talked about before, Aaron, using certain excerpts from the Bible to really make him look as vanilla as possible.
Right.
In order to paint that perfect picture of him holding the lamb, blonde hair, blue eye, skinny dude, that is just, all about peace. He's all about peace. Well, no, not really.
Read about the marketplaces in the temple.
Exactly. I'm like,
that was pissed off Jesus.
Those? Yeah, that's pissed off. That is pissed off. The fact
Wait
is
a second.
That he came in.
Do you think the Romans arrested him just because he was an angry black man in public?
Maybe. Let's
like,
think about that.
Sorry,
Wow.
got to take you in. Because let's face it, in modern day terms, Jesus is a brown
Malcolm X.
Well, he's a brown Jewish socialist or a communist. So I'm feeling
Malcolm X.
Your co-pilot is
like,
not Jesus. I don't think you'd let him in your truck.
Right. Exactly. Especially,
his
if he's
dreads
asking you to take
and
down
his big ass sandals and his stompy
if he's asking
feet.
you to take down your Confederate flag, I'm like, come on, that would just be asinine because Jesus
finally
is
good
a
on
old boy.
Mississippi for finally getting it though, and granted, the final straw that broke its back may have just been them losing money on SEC football games, but you know what? That's the free market. Ha!
Yes. And you know what? Here's the way that America snatches defeat from the jaws of victory. I swear, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Is that in the fucking state of Indiana that had nothing to do with this? As soon as this story hits, all of the closet just ignorant people come out and say, well, this just goes along with pulling down all of these, all these statues and stuff like that. You're erasing our history. And I'm like, okay. I cannot have an intelligent conversation with these people. I just can't. I can't. I mean,
it's such a weak starting point.
I am someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, Aaron, and you know that. Know I do.
Oh, yeah.
If someone comes at me and says, well, pulling down these statues is erasing our history, once again, it's the quote I love. History was written by those who have hung heroes. So why the hell would you want to hang on to that history? Let's really look and see what happened. Let's report the good and the bad, and then let's take down those symbols that represent the fact that, hey, we glorified white supremacy at some point. We can remember that happened, but we don't need visual reminders everywhere. Come on.
Well, also, I mean, after the Revolutionary War, a bunch of people tore down a statue of King George III. Remind me again who won the Revolutionary War? Is this still up for debate? Also, I don't think conservatives were too upset when Iraqis were toppling Saddam Hussein statues. They were like, "Hey, you're destroying your own history. You shouldn't be doing that."
That's their history.
And never mind the fact that these monuments weren't even built as commemorative of all that kind of shit. It wasn't 1866, and they're like Nathan Bedford Forrest and all this stuff. They're like, no, he's a KKK Klan leader, and we're here to intimidate you. And your own. Also, we used the cheapest possible materials we could. So, have you noticed why they topple over so damn easily?
There's like beer cans and shit in there. I'm
pretty sure me, you, and a sturdy truck and a chain and a six-pack could bring down most of these Confederate statues. So
I tell you, that's awesome. That was a great segue into my favorite part of the show.
Let's do it.
Hey, Aaron.
All right.
And it's really simple. Simple. Hey, Aaron. Give us your impression about G.I. Joe and Karen standing out on their front doorstep with guns pointed at protesters walking by.
Look, if people actually felt threatened, I understand their desire to brandish the weapons, to just be like, not on our property. But seriously, there are so many things that are hysterically yet sickeningly wrong in these pictures. First off, neither one of them clearly has any clue how to handle these weapons at all. Her finger's on the trigger the whole time, which, by the way, is aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And Tamir Rice was killed for playing with a toy gun in a park, but this woman still has her bar. So,
Mark Simmons, where are you for this segment, my friend? If you are watching, you have got to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I mean, also, just, I'm sure in their mind they thought they looked like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Mr. and
right?
Mrs. Smith.
Oh, we're badasses. No. First off, Karen, you've got mustard on your shirt, so I hope the hot dog was tasty because it's all over your shirt. Secondly, that look on her face says, protesters, where's your manager? Because that's all she cares about. And then fucking khaki cargo pant. God. Like, he needed a tiki torch. It was like the full-on starter kit going on.
Protesters will not replace us. Protesters will not replace us. There you go.
So I think they were scared shitless dipshits. that they're getting their 15 minutes, and I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah. So second part of Hey Aaron is a little more light. Just your opinion, my friend. 60-game season coming up. Guys reported back, I think today, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Red record at the end of 60 games. What you thinking, my friend?
Ooh. This is a tough one because it's going to be all about getting a hot start. We were looking good toward the end of the last season. I was feeling very optimistic going into this one. Been watching videos of Michael Lorenzen, who says he wants to throw 103 mile an hour this year, and his goal is to hit 106 within the next couple of years. You should see his workout. So you know what? If the rest of the guys on the team have been working that hard, I'm gonna say, call it right now. I'm gonna say 34-26.
Okay.
I think they'll be above 500.
Okay.
Not sure. I haven't read enough to know how playoffs are going to go, but I think they'll be above 500. I think we're going to see streaks. I think we're going to see a team run off like 5 games in a row of a win and 5 games in a row of a loss, just because we all know how. I mean, every sport takes time for everybody to get into like game shape and the competition. And baseball is, in a lot of ways, even worse, just because there are so many individual mechanics versus every event is an individual. How to say this without sounding stupid? In football, you're obviously running plays. In basketball, you're obviously running plays, although the individual still makes more. But in baseball, it's 1-1-1-1-1 kind of thing going on. So that's going to require a level of concentration. I think we're going to see a lot of rotated lineups.
I agree.
And but yeah, I'm gonna call it 34-26, above 500 record, and hopefully make the playoffs.
Excellent.
Along those lines, I wanted to get in real quick. The NWSL was the first league, U.S. sports league, to return this weekend. It was fun to watch everybody back out there, but most importantly, every player and staff member in the very first match all took a knee, and we've had officials even taking a knee during it. It's been pretty low level. I know that the WNBA and the NBA themselves are planning to continue their social activism as part of the game, and that's even been a little bit controversial from NBA players saying, you know what, if we're going to be speaking out about this, we shouldn't be playing ball. That's an individual thing, but I'm glad it's back. No minor league baseball this season, so that kind of sucks. But I understand the logistics of the major league teams trying to do stuff and then managing the minor league. So that's tough. And also you do have players just opting out, saying we're not going to participate. It's just not worth it right now. A few big names. It's gonna be a while. I'm glad sports are coming back. Obviously happy about soccer being back first. So I hope we get to see some good games. Interested to see how the broadcast will be here. Obviously, what they've been doing in Europe with pumping in the crowd noise and things like that. So could be fun. Pay to get a cardboard cutout of yourself in Great American Ballpark.
That'll be awesome. I'd do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I was going to do like an intro or exit. I had
intro.
The perfect. Here we go. Here we go. Little Curtis Mayfield.
All right.
We're a winner.
Nice. Well, hey, everybody.
All my people out there, listen, keep these discussions going. Keep talking about Black Lives Matter, because we can't stop. We can't stop.
At all. White folks, we can't get tired. If you're tired now, imagine what 400 years of this bullshit's like. So maybe we can all get on board and get this ended, or at least in a better place sooner rather than later. I have neglected to say that if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow us, do all those things. Facebook, give us a thumbs up, like the page. We're so happy to interact with everybody. Such a great forum. But yeah, keep these conversations going. Hug your loved ones tight, and for fuck's sake, wear a mask.
Wear a mask, damn it. Wear your mask. My brother, As always, I love you.
Love you too, man. Love you all out there. Take care.
Peace.